Marylanders want fundamental change in the way that we finance campaigns in this country, and I want fundamental change. And I guess my concern is, Professor Rosen, when we mentioned some of the ways that perhaps we could counter the Citizen United, you raised concerns as to whether any of those could withstand the challenge of the makeup of this court. And as I look at additional challenges that are likely, it seems to me that this court's going to move us in a direction, the wrong direction, the opposite direction in which we need to do, and that is fundamental reform in the way that we conduct elections. It is Congress's responsibility to set up the system for fair and open elections in the United States. It's not the court's responsibility to do that. It's clearly the court's responsibility to make sure that we are consistent with our Constitution, but it's Congress's responsibility to develop the nuts and bolts on how we conduct elections in this country. And I guess my concern is, and this is a very reluctant conclusion I'm coming to, it's my, I guess, conclusion that with the makeup of this current court, it's unlikely that we can pass the type of laws that can make the fundamental changes that the people of Maryland would like to see us make, and that I agree with them that we need in order to protect the integrity of our system on electing our public officials. So I come to the conclusion that we have to seriously consider amending the Constitution of the United States in order to deal with this issue. And I would like to get the panelists' views as to whether you believe, if you agree with the people of my state and their senator that we need fundamental change, can we do it by legislation, or will it require amending the Constitution? Professor Rosen, I'll let you go first.
Senator, you express so well the frustration that Congress should feel in the face of uncertainty about whether it can pass these reforms. And it's striking, this is why the debate about activism is important. Conservatives said for 40 years that judges should interpret the law and not make it, and should defer to Congress about contested constitutional questions. So the fact that there's uncertainty about how the court will treat these reforms, and I should stress, when I say this majority might not uphold them, I'm not saying that they shouldn't uphold them. I think they are constitutional, but it's not a clear case. A constitutional amendment, well, that's always a great thing to propose, and if the intensity of public opposition to this decision is so strong, perhaps it's not implausible that it might proceed. But you know better than anyone, Senator, how hard it is to get an amendment even with broad public support.
I'm going to work with my colleagues here on legislation because a constitutional amendment takes a lot of time. But I think we need to seriously consider whether there's been a fundamental shift in who determines how elections are conducted in the United States. I mean, Congress expressed its view, the Supreme Court knocked it down, and I really don't understand the basis of their opinion, but I must accept the Supreme Court as the arbitrator on the Constitution. Therefore, if there's a fundamental flaw, the only way it appears to me that we may be able to correct it is through a constitutional amendment, Mr.